Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I have some Dollar Tree Easter DIYs for you. I really love how they turned out and I hope you do too. If you like home decor and DIYs on a budget and you're new here, make sure to stick around by hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you never miss out on a new video. All right, let's get started on the DIYs. All right, for this first DIY, I'm going to use 8 bunches of white tulips from Dollar Tree. I want to make a carrot swag. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any orange flowers at Dollar Tree, so that's why I got the white tulips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pluck the tulips off the stems and save the stems for later because I'm going to reuse those for this project. So once I got all of the tulips off the stems, I also want to remove the centers of the tulips because I'm going to be painting the tulips and I don't want to paint the centers if I can help it. So I removed all of the black centers and I set those aside because I'm going to be reusing them and putting them back on after we are done painting them. So to paint them, I am going to use this spray paint in rustic orange, and I just laid them all out and spray painted them. You want to do a couple coats and flip them over so that you can get them all covered. And then once they're dry, I just took the stems and I removed the leaves because I'm not going to use the leaves. And then I'm going to insert the black centers back into the tulips and then put the tulips back on the stems. Now that the tulips are put back together, I'm going to go ahead and take one stem of them and lay that down. And then I'm going to take 2 more stems and I'm going to kind of stagger them on the side of that first stem and then grab all 3 of those stems and bunch them together. And then you can use floral wire. I couldn't find my floral wires, so I had this wired twine from Dollar Tree. So I just used that and I just twisted it around. I used a little bit of hot glue to make sure that the wire stayed down and wrapped it around the bunches. Now I'm going to add 2 more bunches of tulips above those first 3, and I'm just going to continue to do that up with the other 2 bunches, wrapping the twine each time and making sure it's secure. Then I added the last bunch right there in the middle and wrapped some more twine and added a little bit of hot glue. And then what I'm going to do is I need to add the tops for the carrots. So I found these 2 bunches of foliage from Dollar Tree. That's just what they're labeled. I thought they looked perfect as carrot tops, so I just tucked them inside the top of the tulip bunches there. And then with the excess twine I still have, I'm going to wrap that all the way around to make sure that it's really secure, and then again using some hot glue to secure it down. And then I just fanned it out a little bit. Now I flipped it over to the back so that way I could trim up the stems from the tulips on the back side. And now I am going to use some of this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree to cover up the twine right there in the middle. I'm going to make a big bow. You can use whatever ribbon you have on hand, and I'm just going to tie that off and cut the ends. And this turned out so cute. I love how it looks like a big carrot swag for Easter and springtime. For this DIY, I'm going to be using an 8x10 canvas from Dollar Tree. I'm going to reverse canvas it, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the canvas. So I flip the canvas over, and to remove the canvas, I found the easiest way is just to score along the edges with a box cutter and just remove the canvas that way and not worry about the staples. And then I am going to stain the canvas with some acrylic brown paint mixed with water. It's the easiest way to stain this canvas, so you don't have to go out and purchase a whole can of stain if you don't want to. Dollar Tree sells this brown acrylic paint. Once the stain is dry, I'm just going to flip it over and I am going to apply the canvas on the back of the frame, and I'm going to reattach it with some hot glue. You can use staples if you'd like, but hot glue works just fine. Just make sure you stretch it tight enough so that way the canvas isn't loose. And then the excess canvas that is around the outside of the frame, you just cut it with a box cutter. Then I'm going to use some of these wooden carrot ornaments from Dollar Tree. They are so cute. So to color my wooden carrots, I am going to mix some paint with some water to stain them like I did with the canvas frame. So for the tops of the carrots, I am using a chalk paint in the color Oatmeal. It's kind of like a subtle gray greenish color. And then for the bottoms of the carrots, I'm going to use some of the orange acrylic paint from Dollar Tree. And again, just a little bit of water and some paint and just mix it up. And then you can start just brushing on the colors where you want them. They will bleed into each other if you're not careful, so you want to make sure that you stop the color you want a little bit before the next color, so that way it'll kind of blend all together in the end. But this is just going to give the carrots a more subtle farmhousey look, I think. But you can paint them if you want to. I did 11 carrots this way, and then I did one of the wooden bunny ornaments, and I just painted that with some white acrylic paint. I accidentally painted the wrong side of the bunny because I wanted the bunny to look at the carrots in the end, and you'll see. So make sure when you're doing this, you paint the right side of the bunny. So I laid out all of my carrots. I did 2 rows of 4, 1 row of 3 carrots, and then the bunny looking at the carrots. And then I just hot glued everything down. This turned out so cute. For this DIY, I'm going to use 4 of these wooden bunny heads I found at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go ahead and paint them with some white acrylic paint from Dollar Tree. I did give them probably around 3 coats of paint because this white acrylic paint from Dollar Tree doesn't cover very well, so you definitely want to give them a few coats. But after it dried, I came back with some of this wood stain in the color Briar Smoke, and I just went around the edges with my paintbrush and then wiped it with a paper towel just to give it more of a weathered look. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the bunny heads together, so I just stood 2 of them up next to each other. And then I just hot glued them together and then put the other 2 opposite of each other and just use a little more hot glue to secure everything down. And then I'm going to place a clay pot from Dollar Tree inside, and I did this up so that way you could still see the bunny ears when you put the flowers inside, and this makes such a cute bunny planter. For this next DIY, I'm going to use one of these styrofoam craft bunnies from Dollar Tree. I'm also going to use some of this lightweight spackling from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to color it with this folk art chalk paint in the color Castle. I just mixed in a little bit of the color and made sure that I mixed it really well. I'm going to give this bunny a concrete look, a faux concrete look. I did this for one of my Valentine's Day videos with the styrofoam heart from Dollar Tree, and it worked really well. So after I get the color all mixed into the spackling, all I'm going to do is take my little spatula, which I also got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to spread it on to the bunny just like you would spread on icing to a cake. When you're spreading on the spackle, you don't need to worry about it being smooth. It's going to have some rough spots and it's going to be bumpy. You just want to make sure that you're spreading it on evenly and covering all of the styrofoam as best as you can. And then also you want to make sure that underneath the ears, in between the back and the ears of the bunny, that there's that gap there, because you won't be able to really do anything about that once it dries. And then you can see I inserted a skewer to the bottom of the bunny to make it easier to work on the underside and get that all covered. And also I was able to use that skewer to set it up in a piece of styrofoam to let it dry overnight for 24 hours. And that is what I did. And now it is hard enough to be able to come back and use a sanding block and sand it all smooth. And then once it's all sanded smooth, I decided to add a cute little bow with this ribbon from Dollar Tree. I just tied a bow and then hot glued it to the neck, and that was it. I think this turned out really adorable for Easter or spring decor. For this last DIY, I'm going to use 3 of these wooden carrots from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to remove the hanging parts from them because I don't need them for this project. And then I mixed some of that orange acrylic paint from Dollar Tree with some water, and I used that to stain the bottoms of my carrots. I just painted it on and then let it dry. And for the tops of the carrots, I mixed some of that chalk paint in the color oatmeal, and again I just brushed it on the tops of the carrots to give it that farmhouse subtle look, so it wasn't super bright. And then I wanted to make like the ribbing in the carrots, so I took some watered down white acrylic paint from Dollar Tree and I just lightly brushed Walmart as well, or you can use a wooden dowel from the hardware store, from like Home Depot or Lowe's. It will definitely be stronger if you did that. But I'm just going to line up my carrots and kind of stagger them a little crooked, each one a little crooked, and then hot glue them down to the stick. And then you can see where my stick is showing in a couple spots. So I'm going to use some of this raffia from Dollar Tree. I just used one of the rolls out of the 3-pack and I just cut it and then hot glued it to the back and the front, and then that way it's going to cover up the skewer. Now I'm going to use one of these planters from Dollar Tree, and I am going to use one of these styrofoam blocks also from Dollar Tree. This one is the more heavy duty sturdy one. I would suggest using this white one instead of the green ones. Those ones break apart easily. And I just hot glued it to the bottom of my planter, and then I'm going to stick my carrots with the pointed side of this skewer into the styrofoam, and it still will be a little wobbly and a little top heavy, so I'm going to use a bag of these Dollar Tree rocks to fill the top in and make it more sturdy. Then I just covered the rocks with the rest of that raffia, and this turned out to be really cute. Thank you all so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up. Next week, make sure that you tune in because I have a fun project that's going to be a series on my channel and you're not going to want to miss out, so make sure you ring that bell for notifications. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.